In the realm of our story resides Han Taesung, our protagonist, who harbors a belief that his path to strength is obstructed by a lack of fortune or wealth. He sees himself as strikingly ordinary, perhaps even beneath that mark. However, his mentor offers a different perspective. They impart the wisdom that victory does not always hinge on overpowering the adversary. Instead, Han Taesung can tilt the scales by diminishing the strength of his opponents relative to his own. Witness as Han Taesung employs his arsenal of abilities to carve a path to invincibility. With finesse, he employs techniques such as the mortality debuff, which chips away at enemy defenses and resilience. Additionally, he wields the weakling debuff to sap the stamina and mana of his foes. Through these strategic maneuvers, Han Taesung emerges as an unbeatable force on the battlefield. However, a formidable challenge arises when a monstrous entity sets its sights on our hero. Yet, Han Taesung remains undaunted. He invokes the power of his skill, Scorn of the Strong, amplifying the damage dealt to adversaries of higher prowess while fortifying his own defenses. With this potent ability, he dispatches the creature with ease. In this moment of triumph, Han Taesung reflects on the teachings of his mentor. Through resourcefulness and cunning, he proves that every opponent, no matter how imposing, possesses vulnerabilities. In the realm of the debuff master, adversaries fall with but a single strike, a testament to the mastery of their wielder. The scene transitions to a realm anew, a frontier of adventure known as the Brave New World, BNW. This virtual expanse stands as the largest open-world MMORPG ever conceived, a veritable playground of boundless freedom. Its vast terrain spans millions of mountains, teeming with up to 2 billion unique player characters. With its meticulously crafted sensory immersion and breathtaking visuals, BNW transcends mere gaming. It is a realm unto itself. For Han Taesung, BNW represents more than just a game. It's a portal to an alternate reality, one ripe with intrigue and opportunity. His fascination with this digital realm runs deep, fueled in no small part by the promise of financial gain. It has been a year since our protagonist stumbled upon the revelation that gaming could be a lucrative pursuit. Despite starting with a modest class, the Elemental Mage, Han Taesung's unwavering dedication has propelled him to the heights of leadership. Now, as the esteemed guild master of the Beamer Guild, he commands respect and influence in this virtual domain. Within the ranks of the Beamer Guild, boasting a formidable count of 200 members, Han Taesung emerges triumphant from a dungeon delve, clutching hard-earned rewards. The spoils of his endeavor promise to sustain him for more than a month, a prospect that ignites hope among his comrades. One member, in particular, marvels at Han Taesung's knack for uncovering such lucrative opportunities, recognizing the potential windfall in hundreds of one. In response, Han Taesung imparts a lesson on the power of knowledge, revealing that insight is the key to unlocking such treasures. Reflecting on his journey, Han Taesung acknowledges the game as more than just a pastime. It's his lifeline. With a dawning realization of his prowess within this digital realm, he finds renewed purpose and determination. Yet, amidst the tranquility of the forest, danger lurks in the form of two skilled swordsmen hot on his trail. Han Taesung's heart races as he seeks refuge, knowing all too well the looming threat they represent. These pursuers, members of the formidable Genesis Guild, wield influence that casts a shadow over the brave new world. Their enmity spells trouble for Han Taesung, as they were the architects of Beamer Guild's downfall, shattering the virtual empire he worked tirelessly to build. Han Taesung grapples with the stark reality unfolding before him. Despite his preparedness for the might of the Genesis Guild, the chasm in power proves far wider than he ever imagined. It's a bitter pill to swallow as he watches everything he's built crumble without so much as a semblance of resistance. As a window pops up, reminding him of the hours spent immersed in the brave new world, Han Taesung is jolted by the realization that his gaming obsession has disrupted his normal life. Staring at the notification, he feels a pang of despair grip his heart. There's nowhere to retreat to. Even if he were to log out now, he'd only return to a dreary semi-basement, surrounded by decrepit VR capsules, a grim reminder of his own stagnation. The expensive items he had amassed through countless hours of gameplay, acquired at the cost of accumulating staggering debt to challenge the Genesis Guild, now lie in the hands of the enemy, courtesy of betrayal from a once trusted comrade. With nothing but a handful of possessions remaining, Han Taesung is left incredulous, unable to reconcile the magnitude of his losses. Frustration bubbles within him, questioning why his efforts have led to naught but despair. Is this the sum of his endeavors? He wonders, a meager collection of virtual relics amidst a sea of shattered dreams? In the throes of frustration and self-doubt, Han Taesung finds himself questioning why victory continues to elude him. Suddenly, an old man materializes before him, casting an unexpected shadow over his thoughts. With a weathered voice, the elder admonishes Han Taesung, attributing his failures to weakness and invoking the unforgiving law of the jungle that reigns supreme in their world. Bewildered by the sudden appearance of this sage figure, Han Taesung struggles to comprehend how long the elder has been observing him. As the old man continues his critique, Han Taesung's frustration mounts. He bristles at the implication of incompetence and hastily dismisses the elder's counsel, urging him to depart. But the old man remains steadfast, confronting Han Taesung's immaturity with a pointed observation. Before Han Taesung can respond, a sense of impending danger grips him. Reacting instinctively, he leaps into action, shielding the old man from an ambush by unseen assailants. Bereft of weapons, Han Taesung's defense is feeble, yet he acts on impulse to protect the frail elder. In the aftermath of the skirmish, Han Taesung urges the old man to seek safety elsewhere, warning of the danger that looms in their midst. Curious, the elder questions the urgency, prompting Han Taesung to turn his gaze toward the approaching swordsman, realizing that their encounter may not yet be over. As the tension thickens, Han Taesung's former comrade, Qin Jinwoo, steps forward. Han Taesung's frustration boils over at the sight of Qin Jinwoo, the sting of betrayal still fresh in his mind. With a heavy heart, Han Taesung confronts his erstwhile friend, demanding to know how Qin Jinwoo could betray their bond, their camaraderie shattered by greed. In response, Qin Jinwoo offers a callous justification, claiming to have simply moved on to a more enticing opportunity. Han Taesung's disbelief is palpable as he questions Qin Jinwoo's motives, unable to reconcile the betrayal with the notion of their guild as a family. But Qin Jinwoo dismisses such sentimentality with a cynical retort, asserting that in the cutthroat world they inhabit, alliances are fleeting and loyalty is a luxury. The revelation hits Han Taesung like a blow to the chest. Qin Jinwoo drives the point home, emphasizing the cold, transactional nature of their reality. The weapon in Qin Jinwoo's possession, once Han Taesung's own, serves as a painful reminder of the treachery that has unfolded. With a final, cruel twist, Qin Jinwoo launches a spell towards Han Taesung. In a swift and decisive move, the spell launched by Qin Jinwoo hurtles towards Han Taesung with lethal intent. It seems as though victory is within Qin Jinwoo's grasp, his confidence unwavering. However, to the astonishment of all present, the elderly figure intercepts the attack effortlessly, halting it in its tracks. Qin Jinwoo's disbelief is palpable as he demands an explanation from the enigmatic old man. With a measured response, the elder swiftly counters, unleashing a single strike that incapacitates both Qin Jinwoo and the swordsman in one fell swoop. Han Taesung can scarcely believe his eyes as he witnesses the unexpected turn of events. As the dust settles, Han Taesung's instincts kick in, prompting him to activate his rune of insight. Through this newfound clarity, he discerns crucial details about the old man, an NPC of human descent, boasting an astonishing level of 999. Han Taesung's astonishment deepens as he takes in the staggering level of the old man before him. A profound sense of reverence washes over him as the elder speaks, revealing that he has awaited Han Taesung's arrival for quite some time. Despite Han Taesung's perceived lack of talent, wealth, or fortune, the old man finds solace in witnessing the relentless pursuit of personal growth amidst adversity. Suddenly, a window materializes, presenting a quest titled Master-Disciple Relationship. Its terms are simple. Han Taesung must bow before the old man, with the reward shrouded in mystery. Though taken aback by the unexpected quest, Han Taesung recognizes the rare opportunity before him. With determination burning in his heart, he resolves to seize the chance presented, knowing that such opportunities are scarce. With a humble bow, Han Taesung expresses his gratitude to the old man for intervening on his behalf. He implores the elder to accept him as a disciple, eager to embark on this new path of enlightenment. As the quest concludes, a notification confirms Han Taesung's newfound status as the disciple of Deus, marking a pivotal moment in his journey as he successfully transitions into his new role. Han Taesung's transformation from elemental mage to disciple marks a profound shift in his journey. As the old man declares him his disciple, promising to guide him on the path to invincibility, Han Taesung expresses his gratitude. Han Taesung clasps the old man's hand in a firm shake, ready to embark on this new chapter. With a flicker of arcane energy, they vanish into the warp gate, reappearing amidst the rugged terrain of Hun Mountain. Han Taesung marvels at the seamless execution of such advanced magic, pondering the true nature of his enigmatic mentor. Is the old man merely an NPC, or is there more to his presence than meets the eye? Undeterred by Han Taesung's musings, the old man beckons him onward, guiding him to their destination with a sense of purpose. Their journey culminates at the tranquil shores of a crystalline lake, its waters shimmering with purity. Han Taesung's astonishment grows as the old man reveals the lake's purpose, to purify and prepare him for the trials ahead. Caught off guard by this revelation, Han Taesung absorbs the old man's words with a mix of apprehension and anticipation. Yet, the old man's next statement brings a sobering reality to the forefront. His tutelage will be brief. The old man unveils his plan for Han Taesung, a rigorous and intensive 99-day crash course designed to impart the necessary skills for invincibility. The Lake of Purification, he explains, will serve as a catalyst for this transformative journey. Bewildered, Han Taesung seeks clarification, only to find himself unceremoniously pushed into the shimmering waters by the old man's. Submerged beneath the surface, Han Taesung is astounded to discover that he can breathe effortlessly underwater. Before he can process this revelation, a notification window materializes, heralding the onset of the purification process. Agony courses through his body like wildfire, every fiber of his being consumed by searing pain. As he struggles to endure, Han Taesung is beset by a gnawing doubt. How could a process meant to purify hurt so profoundly? In the throes of anguish, Han Taesung is tempted to flee, to escape the torment that threatens to engulf him. Yet, a newfound resolve takes root within him, compelling him to confront his fears head-on. With gritted teeth, he perseveres, enduring the relentless agony for a grueling 60 minutes. Emerging from the depths of the lake, Han Taesung is greeted by a sense of triumph. Relief floods his senses as he realizes that he has weathered the storm. A notification appears, confirming the success of the purification process, a testament to Han Taesung's resilience in the face of adversity. As Han Taesung emerges from the purification process, he is stunned to find that his character has been reset, his once formidable level of 201 reduced to a mere 1. Bewildered, he turns to the old man for answers, seeking clarity amidst the confusion. With a knowing smile, the old man assures Han Taesung that the reset signifies a successful purification. Han Taesung's brows furrow in perplexity as he questions the rationale behind such a drastic measure. The old man explains that Han Taesung's previous growth had been imbalanced, rendering him incapable of achieving true invincibility. Reflecting on his past shortcomings, Han Taesung realizes the necessity of the reset. His levels may have been respectable, but they were far from optimal. The old man's words resonate deeply as he vows to unlock Han Taesung's full potential, pushing his limits beyond what was previously thought possible. In gratitude for this opportunity, Han Taesung expresses his heartfelt thanks to the old man. The old man gently reminds him that the journey to invincibility is far from over. They have only just begun. With a solemn nod, Han Taesung braces himself for the challenges that lie ahead. The old man reveals that the purification process will be repeated 100-fold over the remaining 99 days, each iteration more rigorous than the last. Undeterred, Han Taesung pledges his unwavering commitment, willing to endure countless trials if it means attaining true strength. His determination resonates with the old man, who smiles approvingly, though a hint of caution lingers in his eyes. As a quest for the start of true training appears before him, Han Taesung accepts without hesitation. Meanwhile, at the BMW production company's headquarters in the USA, within the clandestine confines of the Hexagon department, an air of tension pervades. A worker announces the activation of Code 007, sending shockwaves through the assembled staff. Curiosity ripples through the gathered workers as they speculate on the identity of Du's newly chosen disciple. Whispers abound as they ponder whether the disciple is a seasoned professional gamer, capable of feats beyond the ordinary. However, their musings are swiftly quashed as a worker dismisses their assumptions, revealing that the disciple is merely an everyday gamer. As the discussion unfolds, the vice chairman of Hexagon, Haim, steps forward, his gaze fixed on the screen displaying Han Taesung's profile. Observing the unremarkable details, Haim muses on the seemingly ordinary nature of the Korean player. Doubt creeps into his thoughts as he questions how long Han Taesung, with his unassuming appearance, can endure the rigorous trials that lie ahead. Han Taesung had sought refuge in BMW, hoping to escape the harsh realities of his life. Yet, he soon discovered that the virtual world mirrored the complexities of reality in unexpected ways. However, amidst the trials of the game, he encountered his master, a beacon of hope in the tumult of his existence. With renewed determination, Han Taesung embarked on a journey of self-discovery, training tirelessly in pursuit of invincibility. As 3 months slipped by, the scene transitions to a humble hut nestled in the mountains. Here, the old man delivers a somber message to Han Taesung. Their promised 99 days together are drawing to a close. Sensing Han Taesung's reluctance to part ways with Hun Mountain, the old man offers reassurance, urging him not to dwell on sorrow. Han Taesung's response is resolute. How could he mourn the end of such grueling training? To him, it was a journey through hell, a path he traversed with unwavering determination. Yet, the old man challenges his perspective, reminding him of the respite granted during their arduous endeavor. Reflecting on his own struggles, Han Taesung ventures to ask his master if he had ever faced similar trials. In response, the old man shares glimpses of his own quest for strength, revealing a shared journey of perseverance and resilience. 500 years ago, 8 formidable figures reigned as the strongest in the continent. Among them was the old man, perpetually trailing behind his peers. Determined to surpass those who surpassed him, he retreated to the seclusion of Hun Mountain to hone his skills. Through relentless training, he attained unparalleled power, yet victory remained elusive. Intrigued by the old man's tale, Han Taesung questions the strength of his adversaries. The old man's response is a revelation. While he trained, 5 centuries slipped by unnoticed. The once mighty opponents had withered with age, their prowess diminished by the inexorable march of time. His dedication to mastery had rendered him immune to the passage of years, but it had also rendered his hard-won insights obsolete. Presenting Han Taesung with a book, the old man prompts him to contemplate the meaning of invincibility. It is a question that resonates deeply with Han Taesung, sparking a journey of introspection and discovery. Han Taesung's initial interpretation of invincibility as sheer strength is gently corrected by the old man. True invincibility, the old man explains, lies not in raw power, but in the ability to overcome any adversary. Han Taesung raises a valid point. How can one prevail without superior strength? Yet, the old man offers a different perspective, emphasizing the art of weakening one's foes as the cornerstone of true mastery. With this revelation, Han Taesung completes his training, evolving from disciple to debuff master. His transformation is symbolized by a change in both class and nickname, from Taesung to Siegfried. But the old man has one final instruction. Han Taesung must shed his former identity and embrace his new role completely. As Siegfried, the old man's sole disciple, Han Taesung steps into a new chapter of his journey, renamed Han Siegfried by the old man. Our protagonist ponders the remarkable ability of his mentor to manipulate even the system of BMW at will. The mere fact that his nickname could be altered fills Han Siegfried with a sense of rebirth, as if he's been granted a new identity for a new purpose. Empowered by this newfound strength, he dares to dream of challenging even the formidable Genesis Guild. However, The old man reminds Hans Siegfried of the obligations that come with discipleship. It is time for him to embark on a mission of great importance, to confront the successors of the 8 powerful individuals who once ruled the continent. These descendants, each likely groomed for greatness by their forebears, must be defeated using the techniques crafted by the old man himself. With a quest window materializing before him, Hans Siegfried accepts the daunting task of facing the 7 descendants, excluding only his master, Deus. It's a challenge that will test his newfound powers and determination to their limits. The descendants stand as formidable adversaries: Vajra, the thunder god; Murcielago, the sword saint; Ziggurat, the great sage; Berserk, the blood demon; Mogris, wind force of the grand palace; and King Brahm's lineage. Hans Siegfried pledges to overcome them all, determined to showcase his strength and honor his master's teachings. Encouraged by Hans Siegfried's resolve, the old man remarks on the transformation in his eyes, signaling a newfound determination. With a sense of finality, the old man announces the conclusion of his tutelage, urging Hans Siegfried to ascend to greatness and become the strongest successor after him. As Hans Siegfried departs through the warp gate, the old man's thoughts turn introspective. Perhaps, he muses, he had placed too heavy a burden on his disciple. Meanwhile, Hans Siegfried finds himself in the distant lands of Bierman territory, pondering the significance of his journey to the western reaches of the continent. Hans Siegfried finds solace in the current state of affairs. At level 1, he recognizes the peril of encountering members of the Genesis Guild in his vulnerable condition. His foremost objective is clear: to mature without the interference of others until he reaches at least level 100. With a sense of purpose, Hans Siegfried accesses his job description window, revealing his newfound identity as a debuff master. Role encompassing melee damage dealing, support, and wide arena nuking. The description outlines his specialization in weakening adversaries through various debuffs, wielding heavy weapons and armor as his primary gear. Examining his equipment and skills, all at level 1 with some abilities yet to be unlocked, Hans Siegfried contemplates the potential of his arsenal. The active skill, Smash, catches his attention. In the depths of Hans Siegfried's skill set lie 2 potent abilities: Desperate Defense and Weakening Curse. Desperate Defense conjures a circular field centered around the caster, gradually diminishing enemies' defense and magic resistance. With each advancement in skill level, the field's radius expands, extending its protective reach. Weakening Curse, on the other hand, manifests a similar circular field emanating from the caster, steadily sapping enemies' health and mana. As proficiency with the skill grows, so does the area of effect, amplifying the damage inflicted. Notably, this skill operates as a fixed damage mechanism, its potency linked directly to the caster's mana and impervious to the effects of defense and magic resistance. Intrigued and somewhat taken aback by the capabilities of his newfound skills, Hans Siegfried eagerly anticipates putting them to the test. However, his excitement is abruptly interrupted by the sudden appearance of a wild tiger, bearing a hamster cage in its jaws. A frightened hamster calls out for Hans Siegfried's aid, triggering an emergency quest to rescue the Great Spirit, with the hamster revealed as its unlikely embodiment. As Hans Siegfried assesses the situation, he notes the formidable level of the tiger, 25, a significant challenge for a novice like himself. Yet, with his skills at the ready and a sense of determination pulsing within him, he stands prepared to confront whatever obstacles lie ahead. Hans Siegfried's mind whirls with disbelief at the formidable level of the tiger, an unexpectedly daunting challenge for a starting area. Uncertain of his next move, he grasps a simple wooden stick, his only weapon at hand. With a surge of determination, he channels the power of Desperate Defense and Weakening Curse, swiftly draining the tiger's energy and weakening its resolve. In a daring display of skill, Hans Siegfried delivers a decisive blow, felling the beast with a single strike. As the tiger releases its grip on the hamster cage, relief washes over Hans Siegfried. In this pivotal moment, he reflects on the wisdom imparted by his master, to weaken one's opponent before striking. As the tiger monster retaliates, Hans Siegfried gracefully sidesteps its attacks, his movements fluid and precise. With his trusty wooden stick in hand, he delivers a series of swift strikes, each blow landing with precision. The sight leaves the great spirit hamster in awe. How could a mere level 1 human hold his own against a level 20 tiger monster? Urging Hans Siegfried onward, the hamster implores him to vanquish the tiger and secure their safety. Frustration gnaws at Hans Siegfried as the hamster's pleas threaten to break his concentration. Despite his valiant efforts, the tiger persists, shrugging off the debuffs with stubborn resilience. As fatigue sets in and his resources dwindle, Hans Siegfried realizes the urgency of the situation. With his weapon nearing its breaking point and his health and mana dwindling, he knows that the tide of battle must turn in his favor soon. Summoning his resolve, he unleashes his smash skill, a powerful strike aimed at turning the tide of the encounter in his favor. As the tiger monster lunges towards Hans Siegfried, intent on delivering a final blow, Hans Siegfried strikes with unparalleled precision, swiftly felling the beast with a single, decisive blow. In the aftermath, a flurry of windows cascade onto the screen, announcing Hans Siegfried's sudden ascent to level 15. A remarkable feat achieved in one swift stroke. Stunned by his rapid progression, Hans Siegfried realizes the true potential of a debuff master. With newfound clarity, he understands the essence of his role and the power it bestows. Amidst the chaos, the hamster implores Hans Siegfried to release it from its cage. Hastening to the creature's aid, Hans Siegfried frees the hamster from its confines. However, the hamster's gratitude takes an unexpected turn as it offers to enter into a contract with Hans Siegfried. Declining the offer, Hans Siegfried politely refuses, explaining that he has no need for a pet. Despite the hamster's pleas, Hans Siegfried remains resolute in his decision to part ways. Little does he know, however, that by declining the contract, he has unlocked a hidden quest reward: the opportunity to forge a pact with the great forest spirit. As the realization dawns upon Hans Siegfried, he comprehends the true identity of the seemingly ordinary hamster, the great spirit. Despite its humble appearance, Hans Siegfried recalls rumors that a being of great spirit rank holds power akin to that of a spirit king. Recognizing the potential significance of forming a pact with such a being, Hans Siegfried decides to proceed with the contract. Upon expressing his willingness to form the pact, the hamster's joy is palpable. With a sense of determination, Hans Siegfried successfully seals the contract with the great forest spirit. A notification window promptly appears, detailing the attributes of their newfound partnership. The great forest spirit stands at level 15, mirroring Hans Siegfried's own level. Its race is identified as Divine Beasts, with a class designation of Trickster. Among its titles are Forest Tyrant, Forest Troublemaker, and Guardian of the Forest. Notably, the Great Spirit possesses no skills of its own. Contemplating the implications of their shared levels, Hans Siegfried realizes that as he grows stronger, so too will the Great Spirit. As the formalities of their newfound partnership unfold, the hamster prepares to divulge his full name to Hans Siegfried. However, before the hamster can utter a word, Hans Siegfried interjects, deeming the name too cumbersome. In response, a notification window materializes, prompting Hans Siegfried to assign a new name to his contracted companion. After a moment's consideration, Hans Siegfried settles on Hamji. The hamster is taken aback by this unexpected choice. In the ensuing moments, Hans Siegfried extends a sincere apology to Hamji for the abrupt decision. Attempting to assuage Hamji's discomfort, Hans Siegfried offers reassurances about the endearing nature of the chosen name. However, frustration simmers beneath Hamji's surface as he expresses disdain for the seemingly incongruous title. Despite Hamji's protestations, Hans Siegfried remains steadfast in his decision. Sensing the tension, Hans Siegfried redirects the conversation, querying Hamji about the circumstances surrounding his confinement. Hamji admits to being baffled by his predicament, his memories shrouded in a veil of uncertainty from the moment he regained consciousness. As Hamji recounts his fragmented memories to Hans Siegfried, he expresses frustration at the lack of clarity surrounding his past, clinging only to his name and vague recollections of his status as a great spirit within a particular forest. Sensing his companion's distress, Hans Siegfried attempts to console him. Desperate to reclaim his lost memories, Hamji implores his master for assistance in uncovering the truth of his origins. Despite the urgency of Hamji's request, Hans Siegfried maintains a composed demeanor, reminding both of them that their immediate priority is to focus on strengthening themselves. As they arrive at a nearby city, Hans Siegfried wastes no time in heading directly to the mercenary guild. Inside the guild, Hans Siegfried encounters Jerry, a seasoned member. Jerry inquires about Hans Siegfried's purpose for visiting the guild, prompting Hans Siegfried to express his intention to acquire a mercenary license. Internally, Hans Siegfried acknowledges that obtaining such a license is essential for his continued growth. Jerry explains the process, mentioning a qualification test that Hans Siegfried must pass. Despite Hans Siegfried's confidence in his abilities, Jerry stresses the importance of verifying his skills, emphasizing the necessity for validation regardless of Hans Siegfried's claims of immortality. In the vacant territories, Hans Siegfried begins his journey by capturing mutant rabbits, a common sight in these lands. Presenting the claw of the tiger monster to Jerry, he questions if this suffices for verification. Hans Siegfried elaborates that en route to the village, he managed to capture a mutant tiger, a feat he believes to be more substantial than merely snaring rabbits. Jerry, taken aback by Hans Siegfried's claim of single-handedly subduing a tiger monster, expresses disbelief. However, upon contemplation, Jerry acknowledges the validity of this evidence for verification. With a nod, Jerry assures Hans Siegfried that his qualification seems adequate, promptly proceeding to issue his mercenary guild license. Grateful for Jerry's assistance, Hans Siegfried accepts the license with gratitude. Before parting ways, Jerry extends an invitation for Hans Siegfried to listen to a concerning tale. Perplexed, Hans Siegfried inquires further. Jerry reveals troubling news of an unusual surge in mutant activity, including a recent attack on a nearby ranch. In the village, fear grips the hearts of the people as they tremble with apprehension. Hans Siegfried turns to Jerry, questioning whether the frequency of monster appearances in the village has escalated. Jerry confirms Hans Siegfried's suspicion, elaborating that not only have tiger monsters become more prevalent, but other formidable creatures such as wolves and buffalo have also begun encroaching upon Beerman territories. These developments are unsettling, especially considering that such high-level monsters were previously unheard of in these low-level areas. Reflecting on this anomaly, Hans Siegfried senses that something must be amiss. Jerry expresses hope that Hans Siegfried can aid in addressing the escalating threat. A quest window materializes, offering Hans Siegfried the opportunity to become the guardian of the Beerman territory. Though categorized as a normal quest, it underscores the urgency of the situation and offers a reward of 100 gold upon completion. Despite the call to action, Hans Siegfried expresses concern about his current low level, doubting his ability to effectively assist Jerry. Jerry reveals to Hans Siegfried that he's the sole individual in the village who has managed to capture a tiger monster solo, especially after the recent monster attack on the nearby ranch. Moreover, the Beerman territory lacks a magic communication circle due to its position on the border, meaning it could take up to a week to receive aid from outside sources. Despite the daunting circumstances, Hans Siegfried sees an opportunity for leveling up and decides to accept the quest. The scene transitions to the Beerman territory, a bit further out, where the Schreier castle lies in ruins, overrun by monsters. The shop bell jingles softly as a customer steps out into the sunlight. The shopkeeper politely thanks them and wishes them well. Outside, Siegfried adjusts his cloak. He now looks far better than before, no longer poor or messy. On his shoulders sits his fat, mischievous hamster, Hamji, who watches him with a playful grin. Despite the teasing, Siegfried does not mind. He knows he cannot keep wearing worn-out clothes forever. In his hand, he holds a new weapon that feels perfect for hunting monsters. Hamji looks delighted, but Siegfried complains about how much he has already spent on mana stones for him. The hamster proudly insists that cheap stones do not taste good, acting both spoiled and lazy. As they argue, 3 armed men approach. One of them recognizes Siegfried as the one who defeated a mutant tiger. One of them steps forward and introduces himself as Jang Manbach, followed by Thompson, who greets him politely. Siegfried simply nods, and the group quickly agrees to work together. Seeing Hamji on his shoulder surprises them, but they soon decide that Siegfried should be their captain since he is clearly the strongest. Though slightly shocked, he accepts. Now the team stands united. Siegfried smiles quietly as their journey begins. Looking back at his village and the dark mountains behind it, Siegfried decides their first destination is Bucardi Ranch, where the situation is serious. Upon arrival, they find fighters already struggling against powerful mutant beasts. Huge wolves and oxen attack relentlessly. The battle is intense, and although the fighters manage to defeat the beasts one by one, they are left exhausted. Suddenly, Siegfried senses danger. The ground shakes as a massive bull with glowing red eyes charges forward. He reacts instantly, turning and striking the beast with full force. After a fierce and brutal fight, the bull collapses. Siegfried exhales slowly, knowing he cannot use his secret skills while others are watching. His teammates rush over, checking on him. He confirms he is fine and quickly assesses the others. The surrounding fighters praise Siegfried for defeating the mutated bison alone. Some recall the rumor about him defeating a mutant tiger and admit they doubted it. When asked if he plans to become a professional fighter, Siegfried simply smiles and calls it luck. As they talk, a wolf with burning eyes watches from afar. Soon, more beasts appear. Deer, wolves, and oxen rush toward the village. The team prepares to fight again, but suddenly, the creatures stop and retreat as if following an order. Realizing something is wrong, Siegfried tells his team to return to the main tent while he follows the monsters. Though they worry, he assures them he is the only one still capable of moving. Hamji proudly insists on going along, amusing the others. Siegfried follows the tracks deep into the forest, where all paths lead toward the neighboring Schreier territory. Staying alert, he moves carefully until Hamji suddenly chirps. Ahead, Siegfried sees a massive, silent castle that appears completely abandoned. Then he witnesses something shocking. A grotesque creature rides a giant tiger, surrounded by the same monsters from the ranch. The beasts obey its every command. Siegfried realizes the truth. The creature is a goblin lord controlling the mutants through powerful mind control. Understanding the danger, he knows he cannot face it alone and decides to return immediately to Bierman territory. Back at the camp, he meets Commander-in-Chief Blitch, a stern and serious man. Siegfried introduces himself, and Blitch acknowledges hearing about his achievements through Jericho. With no time to waste, Blitch spreads out a map and explains that Schreier territory has already fallen to goblins. Siegfried confirms this and reveals the presence of a goblin lord controlling the mutants and preparing to attack Bierman next. The soldiers grow anxious, realizing the severity of the situation. Some fear that Bierman is doomed. Siegfried suggests evacuating the lord and villagers immediately. Blitch questions why they were not informed sooner and explains that weak communication with Schreier and ongoing attacks prevented any investigation. Siegfried agrees, stating that the goblin lord exploited this weakness perfectly. Overcome with despair, Blitch laments that their proud territory, which has stood strong for 300 years, is now collapsing because of goblins. When he asks what they can do, Siegfried calmly responds that there is still hope. He says there may be one way to stop it, but it will take time. When Blitch asks how much time, Siegfried meets his gaze and answers firmly that he needs time to grow stronger. The battlefield is in chaos as another wave of massive mutant beast attacks. Meanwhile, Siegfried is away in a meeting with the chief. The strategy is quickly put into action. A special forces unit composed of agile fighters moves first. Even so, several mutants break through and charge at the soldiers. Siegfried steps forward calmly and takes command of the next phase. He instructs the team to lure the scattered mutants toward his position after separating them from the leader, assuring them he will handle the rest. The scene shifts to a few moments earlier. He then tells the chief that once he reaches level 30, he will join the battle against the goblins. The chief acknowledges his potential but points out a major concern. The goblin lord is level 50, leaving a large power gap even if Siegfried reaches level 30. Siegfried remains confident. He recalls defeating a level 20 mutant tiger at level 1 and says the fight will be difficult but not impossible. Even if he fails, he believes his actions will buy time for reinforcements. Moved by his determination, another fighter pledges support to the plan. Later, Siegfried speaks with Hamji, his hamster companion. He apologizes for not having money for food, but Hamji says that is not the issue. The hamster reveals it sensed Siegfried hiding something during his conversation with the chief. Siegfried is surprised, and Hamji explains that beings of great spirit gain heightened perception. Siegfried then admits that reaching level 30 will unlock a new skill that could help against the Goblin Lord, though it does not guarantee victory. He hides this information because revealing it to other players could cause chaos. Hamji remarks that humans live complicated lives, and Siegfried agrees, but says being prepared is better than being exposed. Nearby, two fighters talk casually and ask if Siegfried is done with the meeting. He confirms and notes that the strategy depends heavily on him. The others reassure him that they are simply glad he is on their side and plan to rest before the mission. They ask if he is logging out after playing for many hours. Siegfried agrees to rest as well since the operation begins in 2 hours. Before leaving, he gives Hamji some money for food. The hamster immediately questions how he has money after claiming he had none. Siegfried laughs and admits he lied before logging out. Back in reality, Siegfried removes his VR headset and feels his stiff body. He considers eating but decides rest is more important. Lying down, he reflects on his past. His guild has collapsed, he is now a fugitive, and he remembers his village falling apart. He recalls meeting his master and obtaining the hidden job of debuffed master. Since then, he has been fighting to gain territory. What began as a path for revenge and money has slowly turned into something he enjoys, even if he does not fully understand why. He questions his own maturity and admits he wants to return to the game soon, grow stronger, and enjoy it freely. Wanting to prepare further, he decides to level up a bit before the operation. At that moment, a knock is heard at the door. Two delivery men arrive asking for Han Tae-sung. Siegfried confirms his identity, but says he ordered nothing. They explain the package is addressed to him and hand him a note that reads, "Congratulations on Epic Core 007. Siegfried suspects it may be related to his hidden class and wonders if it is a gift from the developers. After politely declining coffee, the delivery men leave. Outside, a man in a suit reports that a capsule has been delivered and installed at Han Tae-sung's residence. It is confirmed that Siegfried has no connection to the chairman and is receiving it as a gift. Inside the office, others mention they share the same hidden class and refer to it as camaraderie. Siegfried recalls an advertisement for the Hyper VR Capsule OGRE, a luxury capsule used by top figures like Chai Hyung-suk, the guild master of Genesis. It is an item beyond the reach of normal players. Yet now, one has been installed in his home. He is stunned by the unexpected generosity from the developers. Without wasting time, he enters the capsule. The experience feels unbelievably real, with perfect comfort and clarity. But soon, something feels wrong. He senses heat, wind, and even the smell of burning. Everything feels far too real. The scene shifts to complete chaos. He whispers in disbelief. Suddenly, a wolf lunges toward Hamji. The hamster cries out in fear, thinking it is the end. In an instant, Siegfried moves and defeats the creature with a single strike, saving him. Hamji quickly climbs on Siegfried's shoulder, trembling and panicking. Siegfried asks if he is hurt, but Hamji instead complains that he almost died. Siegfried tells him to calm down and explain the situation. Hamji reveals that the attack began right after the adventurers logged out and returned to their world. At that moment, the Goblin Lord appears, riding a giant tiger and leading an army of mutants. It is clear the attack was planned. Hamji realizes they were ambushed while the fighters were offline. Siegfried understands the situation immediately. He concludes that he is now the only adventurer present, which explains the chaos. A calm smile forms on his face as he accepts the situation. Hamji, however, grows uneasy. Around them, remaining soldiers struggle to protect the villagers, but the battlefield is overwhelming. The goblins continue to pour in, and the situation worsens rapidly. Siegfried then steps forward. Moving with speed and precision, he begins taking down enemies one after another. He tells the soldiers to focus on evacuating the villagers while he handles the battlefield. Though they insist on helping, Siegfried declines, choosing to fight alone. The soldiers and villagers place their trust in him and begin retreating. Siegfried acknowledges that he can now show his full strength. He easily dodges an attacking wolf and defeats it, noting how its movements are slowed and unstable due to a weakening effect. He finishes it effortlessly and continues forward. As he fights, he feels his strength increase. The effects of his high-quality VR capsule and enhancements begin to show. His senses sharpen, enemy movements become clearer, and his reactions grow faster. He moves across the battlefield like a blur, defeating goblins and beasts with precise strikes. A powerful attack lands, and a notification appears in his mind. He has reached level 22. Despite the progress, he feels frustrated by how slow leveling has become. Hamji cheers from his shoulder, but Siegfried remains focused. He decides that if growth slows, he will simply fight more and push forward harder. Far away, the Goblin Lord watches the battlefield. It realizes Siegfried is no ordinary fighter and considers him a growing threat. At the same time, the chief of the territory arrives, injured but still standing. He sees Siegfried fighting and feels a spark of hope. He wonders if this is the man known as Sir Sage. Determined to protect him, the chief prepares to hold back the Goblin Lord so Siegfried can continue growing stronger. 30 minutes earlier, Hamji complains about being used as bait, insisting he is the Great Spirit, not a lure for monsters. He worries about being chased while leading enemies into a trap. Siegfried explains there is no other option and asks if Hamji would prefer he remain weak or abandon everyone to die. Hamji resists at first, but finally agrees, demanding a reward of nuts afterward. Siegfried accepts, and the plan begins. Back in the present, Hamji continues complaining, frustrated from being chased non-stop. Siegfried tells him to calm down, confirming the immediate danger is over. Hamji proudly claims it was thanks to his efforts, but Siegfried confirms he has already eliminated most of the monsters. Siegfried then asks about the Goblin Lord's location. Hamji reports that while escaping through the forest, he sensed a strong, evil aura from the Bierman Castle, now likely occupied by the Goblin Lord. He also notes that Commander Blitch was nowhere to be seen. Siegfried decides to move immediately. He tells Hamji to stay behind, but the hamster insists on following, worried about his master. Together, they head toward the castle. Siegfried senses the dark aura and questions why Hamji followed. The hamster admits he was afraid but could not leave him alone. Touched, Siegfried acknowledges his loyalty. Hamji then warns him about the Goblin Lord's strength and asks if there is a plan. Siegfried admits there is no time for one and chooses to move forward directly. They break into the castle, where they find Commander Blitch injured but still standing. Siegfried is shocked to see him still fighting. Blitch explains that as a knight, he must protect his lord. Siegfried immediately realizes the lord is still inside. At that moment, the Goblin Lord appears, recognizing Siegfried as the human who destroyed his forces. He mocks him, accusing him of using others to grow stronger. Blitch yells for Siegfried not to be provoked, saying they did what they had to do. Siegfried then confirms the captured lord's location behind the Goblin Lord. The Goblin Lord mocks him further, thinking he is hesitating out of guilt. As he prepares to attack, Siegfried activates speed regulation, releasing blue energy that slows the enemy's movements and reactions. The Goblin Lord is shocked as his attacks fail to land, and Siegfried suddenly appears beside him, warning him not to touch Commander Blitch. Realizing something is wrong, the Goblin Lord feels his movements being forcibly restrained and demands an explanation. Siegfried calmly states that the skill is working as intended. Commander Blitch watches in disbelief. Siegfried then addresses Blitch, acknowledging the effort that kept the situation stable long enough for him to grow stronger. He tells them to retreat and leave the rest to him. He orders Hamji, who was hiding, to retrieve the captured lord. Hamji agrees and moves in. Enraged, the Goblin Lord vows revenge, but Siegfried calmly says there is no need to worry anymore. He binds the Goblin Lord with glowing chains and declares that it is time to end the fight for real. The battle inside the castle intensifies as the Goblin Lord grows more ferocious. He unleashes a series of brutal attacks on Siegfried, and both sides exchange powerful blows that shake the surroundings. In a heavy clash, the Goblin Lord lands a direct hit, forcing Siegfried back. Siegfried realizes the enemy has begun adapting to his speed regulation skill. High-level bosses are always difficult opponents, and the advantage is quickly shrinking. The Goblin Lord mocks him, asking where his confidence has gone and whether he truly believes such weak tricks can win. Siegfried understands the situation is turning unfavorable. Speed regulation is a support skill, not an offensive one, and its mana consumption is too high. He considers that another skill might have been better, but it is too late to change tactics. He decides to wait for the right opening and strikes again, but the Goblin Lord easily counters and continues overwhelming him, and begins to speak about the history of goblins. He explains how their kind has long been treated as weak and inferior by humans, but claims that will change. He declares his ambition to create a future where goblins are feared and respected, fulfilling the role of a true goblin lord. Despite being pinned down, Siegfried responds calmly. He acknowledges the speech but bluntly states that goblins are seen as weak for a simple reason. They act like low-class creatures. He adds that if they want respect, they should start by improving themselves. Enraged, the Goblin Lord declares this will be Siegfried's final moment and prepares a finishing attack. Siegfried sees his chance and deactivates speed regulation. Instantly, the Goblin Lord feels his body become unstable as the effect disappears, realizing Siegfried was waiting for this moment. The two exchange a final burst of attacks, and Siegfried lands a powerful counterstrike. In desperation, the Goblin Lord summons his mutated tiger. The beast crashes into Siegfried, slamming him into a wall and leaving him heavily injured. The Goblin Lord, now mounted on the tiger, admits he did not want to destroy the castle, but says Siegfried forced his hand. He declares the fight is over and activates his true ability, mind control. He commands the tiger to attack again. The beast strikes Siegfried once more. However, Siegfried rises again, his body now surrounded by a fiery aura. He recalls the Goblin Lord's earlier insult, calling him a meaningless nobody. A new power awakens within him. The system registers an evolution as the status Garugo activates. His damage output increases while incoming damage is reduced. Siegfried calmly states that he is not a meaningless nobody, but a master of debuffs who will stand at the top of this world. A system notification confirms the quest to protect Bierman territory has been completed. Elsewhere, in the village, the sun rises over the battlefield. Inside the castle, the Goblin Lord and his mutated tiger are defeated. With their death, the mental control over the remaining monsters is broken, and the last creatures are quickly eliminated. The village begins recovery as everyone works together to clear debris and treat the wounded. Those with minor injuries help rebuild the territory. Siegfried takes a deep breath, feeling the peace of the morning for the first time in a long while. He reflects on how unbelievable it is that a powerful Goblin Lord was defeated in such a way, and realizes that without his final skill at the right moment, the outcome could have been very different. A system notification appears, confirming his new skill, disdain for the strong. Siegfried recognizes it as an extremely powerful but situational skill, and understands he must use it carefully from now on. He also realizes that hiding abilities during battle is no longer a safe strategy. Commander Blitch approaches. He remarks that Siegfried looks unharmed and praises his strength. Siegfried greets him and suggests he should rest, but Blitch jokes that staying in a tent is unbearable. He explains that the Lord has ordered him to escort Siegfried to the castle. Siegfried asks about the Lord's condition, and Blitch confirms he is recovering well and has always been physically strong. Feeling responsible for the commander's injury, Siegfried apologizes, but Blitch dismisses it, saying saving the territory was worth the sacrifice. He thanks Siegfried, stating that without him, everything would have been lost. Soon after, Siegfried meets Baron Wegman, the lord of the territory. The Baron thanks him for saving their land and is impressed by his name, calling it fitting for a hero. He then kneels in gratitude, surprising Siegfried, who tells him it is unnecessary. The Baron's attendants worry about his health, but he assures them he is fine for now. Siegfried downplays his role, saying he was only acting as a mercenary, but the Baron insists that his intentions do not matter. What matters is that he risked his life to protect them. Without him, the territory would have fallen to the goblins. The Baron then leads Siegfried deeper into the castle, saying he has prepared a reward. Expecting something valuable, Siegfried follows him into a grand hall that resembles a treasure chamber. The Baron explains that most of their family's treasures were lost or sold over time, leaving only one item behind. He presents a box containing a voucher from the Mercedes workshop. Siegfried is shocked to learn it guarantees a +12 enhancement from one of the continent's top workshops. The Baron explains its history, saying it was originally purchased centuries ago by an ancestor who recognized its value during the early days of the workshop. Over time, its worth has grown tremendously, now valued at tens of millions of gold. The Baron calls it a fitting inheritance for someone worthy, as his own descendants lack the qualities of true leadership. He then makes a request, asking Siegfried to look after his son in the future, believing he will become a great hero. He compares it to how his ancestor once invested in the workshop itself. Though surprised, Siegfried agrees to the request and promises to help the Baron's son if needed. However, as he accepts, he silently wonders whether this reward has turned into something more like a responsibility, leaving him with a subtle feeling that he may have been slightly outmaneuvered. Siegfried leaves the castle and considers selling the workshop voucher at auction. It could bring hundreds of millions of gold, enough to clear his debts and secure a new home. However, he decides to think carefully and invest in his future instead, believing money will come in time. Soon after, he notices Hamji is missing. Worried, he searches the village and finds the hamster in the square and performing for villagers. A woman enjoys the act and compares it to her daughter's cuteness. Hamji, however, openly demands payment for his performance and happily accepts a snack. He even offers to imitate his stupid master. Siegfried arrives and catches him in the act, questioning what kind of behavior this is. Hamji complains about having a careless master who forces him to earn money this way. Siegfried reminds him that he is supposed to only eat mana stones, but Hamji explains they are only for low-energy needs. A villager named Jang Manbok arrives and says everyone has been looking for Siegfried. Siegfried mentions he was at the castle. Manbok notes that he is always busy and asks about his rewards. Siegfried confirms he is about to receive them and feels excited, even thinking about how others like Thompson would be jealous. He decides to keep the workshop voucher a secret for now. Jericho then appears, relieved to see Siegfried safe. He explains he is short on funds due to repair costs, but still delivers the mission reward of 5,000 gold. Siegfried accepts it gratefully. Jericho quietly mentions he also knows about additional rewards from the Lord and praises Siegfried for not revealing them. Siegfried acknowledges his understanding. Siegfried reflects on his short but meaningful time in the territory, wondering if his master guided him here for growth. Suddenly, a loud voice breaks the calm. Siegfried follows the sound and finds a large, empty area in the village where a massive warrior is speaking loudly about discipline. A group gathers as the man declares he has found his disciple and points directly at Siegfried. The warrior, an imposing figure, introduces himself as a grandmaster from the 5-star heaven, claiming mastery capable of splitting mountains and seas. A burst of blue energy confirms his power. Siegfried recognizes the name, knowing the 5-star heaven refers to the 5 peak masters of the continent. He recalls his own first meeting with his master and realizes encounters with geniuses often happen unexpectedly. The warrior directly asks Siegfried to become his disciple. Shocked, Siegfried refuses, saying he already has a master. The warrior suggests abandoning his current master, but Siegfried firmly refuses again, stating his master is stronger and has taught him secret, powerful techniques. The warrior questions this and laughs at the idea of invincible techniques. His aura suddenly erupts with overwhelming power as he declares that he himself is invincible. Siegfried is shocked by the pressure of his strength. The warrior acknowledges Siegfried's loyalty but says he cannot leave empty-handed. He then proposes a challenge to test Siegfried's confidence. The 126-year-old warrior reflects on his long life. From his youth, he followed the path of the strong, constantly training with his sword and surviving endless battles. At age 120, he finally reached the master level he had always pursued, but instead of satisfaction, he felt emptiness. He even recalls being mocked in the past for spending 100 years cutting down trees as part of his training. He begins questioning this feeling, wondering why achieving his lifelong goal brought no joy. An old memory resurfaces of his master telling him to relax his shoulders and focus, which he once believed was the path to becoming the strongest swordsman. From this, he reaches a realization. A successor is needed. No matter how perfect a skill is, it loses meaning without someone to inherit it. Determined, he travels across the continent searching for a worthy disciple. One candidate has good mana control but poor combat sense. Another lacks physical strength. Raising a proper successor would take at least 20 years, but at 130 years old, time is running out. After searching nearly everywhere, only the remote Bierman territory remains. There, he meets Siegfried and immediately decides he is the one. However, Siegfried refuses to become his disciple. The warrior points out his composure under pressure and instead proposes a challenge. If Siegfried refuses to be his disciple, he must win the challenge. Siegfried is frustrated but listens. The warrior explains the rules. Siegfried gets one attack using any method. If the warrior takes even a single point of damage, Siegfried wins. In return, the warrior will not use mana and will fight barehanded, relying only on his perfected physical body. He offers one final chance to accept discipleship, but Siegfried asks if the man even knows his name. The warrior dismisses it, saying it is irrelevant. This confirms Siegfried's suspicion that he is not seen as a person, only as a vessel for technique. Siegfried rejects the offer completely, deciding that winning the challenge is the only option. The fight begins. The warrior analyzes Siegfried's movements and immediately senses a debuff being applied to a specific point on his body. He dismisses it as ineffective against a master. Siegfried launches a powerful strike, triggering a massive explosion that fills the area with dust. Villagers nearby watch in shock, discussing the match. One fighter remarks that this is the first time seeing Siegfried fight seriously, while another notes there must be a reason he defeated the Goblin Lord alone. As the dust clears, the warrior is revealed standing but unconscious. Siegfried smiles, acknowledging his victory and checking if the quest is complete. Hamji staggers over, complaining about the impact of the explosion. Siegfried tells him it is over and suggests leaving before the warrior wakes. The scene then shifts to the Sahoka ruins in the Macallan Kingdom, a popular hunting ground for mid-level adventurers. A guild notice advertises party recruitment for damage dealers and a healer, offering 10 gold per hour. Several adventurers gather around. Another mage, Kosran, observes the situation and recognizes the same struggling adventurers she often sees, assuming today's hunt will fail. She then notices Siegfried with Hamji and uses a skill to assess him. Curious, she approaches and asks if he would like to join her party. Siegfried enters an ATM to deposit money and finally address his real-world financial problems after the events in Bierman territory. Most of his funds immediately go toward debt repayment, including a 200 million won bank loan and 100 million won in private loans, with interest still rising. He hopes to avoid contact with loan sharks. Outside, he notices a wealthy couple and briefly reflects on the gap between rich and poor. Despite earning money from the Goblin Lord quest, he knows it was luck, and low-level players rarely get profitable opportunities. In B and W, advancement is heavily divided, and after level 200, many high-reward quests disappear. He reflects that success in the game depends on growth, whether as a professional player or streamer. For now, he considers himself a poor capsule user without proper equipment, but he begins imagining a better future with wealth, a house, and stability. His thoughts are interrupted when a girl from an adventurer group approaches and asks about his skills. Hamji interrupts his daydream, scolding him for spacing out. Siegfried apologizes and asks her to repeat the question. The girl explains that her party is looking for a buffer or priest and invites him to join since he has no party. Siegfried realizes she assumes his debuff master class is a support role. He is about to refuse, preferring to work alone, but Hamji suddenly accepts on their behalf. Siegfried is shocked and argues, but Hamji insists that solo play is not sustainable and teases him for dreaming about an unrealistic future. The girl finds their interaction amusing and comments on Hamji's cuteness. In the end, Siegfried agrees to join, deciding he can use his debuffs from behind without revealing too much. The party travels to the Sahoka ruins, once a thriving city destroyed 30 years ago by the lightning python. Its residual mana caused light attribute monsters to form in the area, making it a popular hunting ground for mid-level adventurers. One teammate notices Siegfried's low level and questions the decision, but the party leader, Gazrin, defends him, explaining that he only needs to support from the backline. Another member is unsure about having a debuffer for the first time, but Gazrin encourages everyone to proceed. They soon encounter their first enemies, lizard-type monsters born from the remaining mana. The team engages in battle, with Gazrin organizing the formation and placing tankers at the front while instructing Siegfried to apply debuffs from the rear. The fight begins intensely. One tanker fights without hesitation, ignoring damage, while another questions the usefulness of debuffs and Siegfried's presence. Suddenly, more monsters appear and surround the group, blocking their escape route. Panic spreads as they realize they are trapped. Gazrin determines there are not enough escape scrolls for everyone. She prepares to sacrifice herself and gives her scroll to Siegfried, but he refuses. He tells her not to waste it and warns her against sacrificing herself unnecessarily. Gazrin is confused, but Siegfried calmly states that being overly kind can be dangerous. He tells her to keep the scroll and not worry about him. As the monsters close in, Gazrin hesitates, but Siegfried remains calm. He activates his ability, releasing powerful debuffs across the battlefield. The monsters are weakened and slowed instantly. Shocked, Gazrin and the party witness his true strength. With the enemies now vulnerable, Siegfried signals the team to advance. One teammate becomes overconfident, claiming the monsters are weak and easy to defeat with simple attacks. Hearing this, Siegfried warns them to stay cautious. Even if the monsters look weak, they are still dangerous. He reminds them of a previous tank who died due to carelessness. The warning makes the party more careful, and they begin fighting in coordination instead of rushing in blindly. Siegfried stays at the back and activates his debuff skills. As enemies fall, Siegfried steadily gains experience and realizes this role might be a stable way to grow stronger while supporting a team. Suddenly, an attack is launched at Siegfried, but before he can react, Gazrin quickly steps in and blocks the strike. Gazrin checks on him. Siegfried assures her he is fine and quietly notes that she would be a strong rogue or archer. Soon after, the effects of his debuffs become overwhelming. The monsters collapse rapidly, and the battle ends with ease. Once the last enemy falls, the entire party levels up. The mood shifts from tension to celebration. The teammate who doubted Siegfried earlier now praises him openly and acknowledges his strength. Gazrin smiles and congratulates everyone on the successful hunt. Gazrin then pulls Siegfried aside and asks if his class is a hidden one. Siegfried denies it, explaining that a real hidden class would already be known by major guilds. When asked directly, he states that he is simply a unique debuff-focused class. Internally, he becomes cautious, realizing he may have revealed too much. As the party prepares to return, Gazrin and the others present Siegfried with a pouch of gold as a reward. He is surprised, but she explains it is their tradition to properly reward the one who contributed the most. She then asks him to continue hunting with them, saying good teammates are rare and they do not want to lose him. Before he can fully respond, she announces to the group that he is staying. Siegfried, slightly overwhelmed, agrees. He begins to think that a normal life with a stable party might not be so bad. Hamji, sitting on his shoulder, teases him about being influenced by a pretty girl. A week passes as the group continues hunting in the Sahoka ruins. There are no major events, but Siegfried steadily grows stronger. One day, he unlocks a new skill and later tests it using light attribute crystals obtained from monsters. He activates attribute absorption, slowly gaining resistance and energy from the crystals. The effect is weak for now, but he realizes it can grow stronger over time. He decides to stop hunting with the party soon and focus on leveling up once more before moving on. The next day, chaos erupts in the main gathering area. A large crowd surrounds Siegfried, shouting his name and trying to recruit him after seeing footage of his abilities online. He becomes overwhelmed and trapped in the crowd. Gazrin quickly grabs him and uses a red line scroll to teleport them away. They arrive at a quiet location, where she explains that a recording of their hunt was uploaded online, likely by a former teammate, exposing his power to the public. Siegfried becomes angry, remembering past betrayals, but Gazrin apologizes repeatedly. Seeing her sincerity, he calms down and thanks her for helping him escape the situation. He then decides he can no longer stay in this area due to the attention and rumors. He plans to gain one more level and leave. Gazrin listens quietly, then looks at him with determination and asks a direct question. She invites him to form a party with her, just the two of them.